I found out the hard way that some people will lock you out of your own life, smile while they do it, and then call it order. That was my Monday morning. Coffee not even finished, boots still dusty from the barn, and there I was staring at a brand new fence stretched across my ranch, like somebody had planted a prison on my land overnight. And hanging on the only gate, catching the sun like it was proud of itself, was a little steel padlock that told me everything I needed to know about the kind of people I was dealing with. I bought that ranch to get away from noise, not to start a blood feud with a homeowners association. I wanted wind in the grass, horses moving easy through the pasture, the kind of quiet that settles your bones after too many years of city nonsense. I had built that life with my own hands. The barn, the fencing, the repaired water lines, the long, ugly weeks of mud and sweat, and bills that made me wonder if I'd lost my mind. But when I stood on that porch at sunset and watched my horses graze, it felt worth it. It felt like home. Then I stepped outside that morning and saw the fence. It was tall, ugly, overbuilt on purpose, the kind of thing nobody puts up unless they want to understand a message without having to say it out loud. I ran to the gate and yanked on it hard enough to rattle my shoulder. Nothing. I kicked the bottom rail, grabbed the chain, pulled again, tried not to panic. Then I saw the sign bolted beside it. Property under HOA control. Just like that. Black letters, neat and official. Like theft gets to wear a tie if it wants respect. And then, because life has a mean little sense of timing, I looked up and saw Mrs. Greystone. She was standing off near the road in a press jacket, one hand lifted in this tiny polite wave, like she just won a bake sale instead of fencing off a man's land. That woman had a talent for looking pleased with herself in a way that made your teeth hurt. I knew her enough to know this was a mistake. She liked rules the way some people like fire, not for warmth, but for what they can burn. For maybe a minute, I just stood there trying to breathe. My barn was behind that gate. My grazing access ran through that strip. My horses could still move in the pasture, but the point was bigger than the lock. Somebody had decided they could corner my life, cut off my access, push me until I either begged or broke. I did neither. That first day, I was mad enough to do something stupid. You ever get that kind of anger? The hot kind. The kind that makes your hands shake because your body wants action before your brain catches up? That was me. But my horses have a way of pulling me back into myself. I went out to the pasture edge, laid a hand on one warm neck, then another, and just stood there while they breathed. Animals don't care about pride. They care whether you're steady. And in that moment, I realized I needed to be steady. So I started reading. Every county record I could get. Every easement rule, property map, access regulation, parcel note, HOA filing. By the second night, I had papers spread across my kitchen table like I was preparing for trial, which, in a way, I guess I was. What I found made my stomach turn, but it also gave me the first real opening. The fence and gate sat on a narrow strip of land the HOA technically owned. Tiny piece, easy to miss, but that strip controlled the gate, and the gate controlled access. That was when the whole thing changed in my head. I stopped thinking, how do I get through that gate? And I started thinking, how do I own it? My dad used to say if a bully wants a fight, don't give him the fight he prepared for. Make him answer a question he never saw coming. He was talking about men, not boards and bylaws, but the principle held up fine. If Mrs. Greystone wanted me raging at the fence, cutting locks, making myself look wild and reckless, then I was going to disappoint her. I drove into town the next morning, went to the county office, pulled the parcel record, copied everything, then called a lawyer. After that, I called a local real estate agent, then another. By the end of the week, I had confirmation that, yes, the strip could be sold. Not easily, not quickly, but legally. And once I heard that, the fear started turning into something cleaner. Purpose. Mrs. Greystone kept circling. Notes started showing up tucked under the barn door and wedged into posts. Warnings, citations, threats, all dressed up in stiff language. Do not trespass on HOA property. Failure to comply may result in fines. Legal action may follow. That kind of nonsense. Every page was meant to make me feel smaller. Every page made me more certain I was on the right track. Then they escalated. One morning I came out, and the original lock was gone. For half a second, I thought maybe sanity had finally arrived. Then I heard the truck. Big flatbed. Dust rolling behind it. Men jumping down with crates, ladders, steel framing. Tools I didn't recognize. Mrs. Greystone stepped out after them like a director arriving on set. She looked at me and smiled the way people smile when they think they've already written your ending. "They're coming for the gate," she said. I still remember how cold that sounded. The crew started building a structure around the entrance. Part scaffold, part cage, making the whole thing harder to reach, harder to challenge, harder even to inspect. I called my lawyer with one hand, while filming with the other. She told me the same thing I already knew but needed to hear. Document everything. Don't touch them. Let them make the mistakes. So I documented everything. The truck plates, the workers, the tools, Greystone's face, the hours, the modifications, every new lock, every bracket, every panel. If they wanted to build a case against themselves, I was happy to keep records. That same week, I tried once, just once, to talk to her like a normal human being. I asked why she was doing it. She tilted her head and said, "Rules exist for a reason." And I said, "Not this reason." She gave me this thin smile and said, "Order matters more than feelings." That told me all I needed to know. It was never about a gate. It was never about safety. It was about power in its favorite costume, procedure. Then came the fire. Small at first. Just a curl of smoke near the fence line, right where the HOA strip met my pasture. I saw it from the barn and ran. So fast, I nearly lost a boot in the mud. Dry grass catches quick, faster than people think. I got the hose, started beating it back, shouting at my horses to move away, while smoke hit my throat and ash stuck to my arms. By the time I got out, I was soaked, black-handed, half shaking from adrenaline. And here's the thing that settled in my chest right then. Maybe they said it. Maybe one of their little helpers did. Maybe they claimed coincidence till their last breath. I can't prove who put that fire there, but I know what it felt like. It felt like a message. Back down. Be afraid. Know your place. I wasn't going to do any of that. A few days later, the twist came from a place I never expected. I caught movement near the trees at the edge of the ranch one evening and thought for sure I had another trespasser. Turned out it was a young guy, maybe mid-20s, holding a camera and looking more nervous than dangerous. He put his hands up before I even said a word. He told me he'd been documenting HOA abuse in the area. Said neighbors had stories. Fines, harassment, bogus inspections, weird little acts of intimidation that were always hard to prove one by one. But he had photos, video, dates, notes, including my gate, including the trucks, including Mrs. Greystone. I just stared at him for a second because after weeks of being made to feel isolated, there's something almost disorienting about finding out other people saw exactly what you saw. He became my witness after that, not my savior, not some magic answer. Just a solid, unexpected ally with a camera, a notebook, and enough guts to stand out in the dirt and record what other people wanted hidden. And once he showed up, something shifted. Then Mrs. Harper from 2 plots over started stopping by with tea or cookies or bits of local history. Then another neighbor. Then another. Quiet support mostly. But quiet support matters when somebody's trying to break your confidence piece by piece. The HOA kept pushing anyway. Heavier chain, industrial lock, steel panels around the gate. 2 men in suits claiming they needed to inspect my property. A threat slipped under my door, telling me to stop now or regret it later. Tire tracks near the barn. A loosened post at the pasture edge. Enough little things to keep a person tired. That's how bullies work half the time, not with one giant blow, but with steady pressure. Make you lose sleep, make you doubt yourself, make you spend your own peace like money until there's nothing left. But by then my offer was ready. Every line checked, every clause tightened, every map attached. My lawyer made sure there wasn't room for mischief. When I sent it to the HOA's legal department, I picture Mrs. Greystone opening that envelope and feeling, for the first time, the shape of a game she hadn't planned for. She fought it, of course, delayed, postured, sent people out near sunset with clipboards and fake confidence. One night, a dark SUV rolled up like they were trying to stage one last intimidation scene. Only this time I wasn't standing there alone. The young guy was filming. Mrs. Harper was watching from a drive. A couple other neighbors drifted close enough to be seen, and I had every document ready to go. The woman who stepped out said she was there on behalf of the HOA legal team. She started talking about inspection rights. I told her, calm as could be, that the transfer was underway, that any further interference would be documented as trespass, and that my attorney would be delighted to receive their names in writing. Amazing how fast confidence leaks out of people when they realize the other side finally knows the rules too. They backed off after that, not gracefully, but clearly. Then the letter came. Offer accepted. I must have read that page 5 times before I trusted my own eyes. After months of locks and signs and smoke and smug little smiles, that thin strip of land, the one they use like a choke collar around my property, was mine. We scheduled the closing, finalized the transfer, got everything recorded clean and proper, and the day they handed me the key, I swear it felt heavier than metal should. I walked out to that gate slow, not because I was unsure, but because I wanted to feel every second of it. The morning was quiet, horses moving easy in the pasture, wind in the grass. The kind of silence I'd wanted when I bought the place. The steel panels were still there, ugly as ever, but now they looked ridiculous, like props left behind after a bad performance. I slid the key in, turned it, heard that lock give way, and I don't mind telling you that sound was beautiful. I opened the gate wide, not just enough to pass through, wide, all the way. Sun came through the opening and laid itself across the dirt path like the land was taking a deep breath with me. One of my horses lifted its head and started toward the opening, easy and unbothered, like this whole war had been a human sickness and not worth the trouble. Mrs. Greystone happened to be down the road when it happened. I saw her car slow, saw her staring, and for once she had nothing to say. No wave, no smile, no little queen of the neighborhood posture. Just that stiff look people get when karma finally walks into the room, wearing work boots. That was the part one enjoyed most, if I'm honest, not the paperwork, not even the victory itself. It was watching somebody who lived on control realize the lock no longer belonged to her world. Life settled after that. Quiet came back. The barn sounded like a barn again instead of battlefield. Neighbors still stopped by. The young man kept some of his footage, said maybe one day it would help somebody else. Maybe it will. I hope so. And what I took from all of it was simple, but it took me a while to earn it. Some people don't want fairness. They want obedience. They'll call it policy, process, regulation, order, whatever sounds respectable. But when power gets drunk on itself, the only thing that sobers it up is somebody patient enough, stubborn enough, and calm enough to beat it the right way. So yeah, I got my ranch back. I got my gate back. I got my peace back. But I also got to watch the people who try to cage me stand there and learn that paper authority only works until it meets somebody who refuses to kneel. Tell me this. When rules are used to protect control instead of justice, do you still respect the rules? Or do you fight back until the people hiding behind them finally have to answer for what they did? And have you ever dealt with someone who thought power meant they could take what was yours?